son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. It's championship weekend, and we have all your action for the Ford EcoBoost 400. We've got 267 laps left in the season to crown a champion. Either Rowdy, Truex, Harvick, or Kez are going to be the winner, and they are going to throw down this weekend at Homestead to see who is going to win it all. But if we're going to be completely honest, this weekend isn't about the championship. It's not about any of those drivers. It's about Dale Earnhardt Jr., who will steal the championship's thunder as he goes out the most popular driver in the history of NASCAR. I know it's a crazy emotional time for a lot of NASCAR fans, but we're also saying goodbye to a former champion in Matt Kenseth, who is retiring, and a fan favorite, and a perennial underperformer in a stock car, Danica Patrick. So I think it's only fair, before we get into actual race breakdown this weekend, that we give a little bit of a tribute. Liehr, we're going to start off with Danica. And what I want to say about Danica is she was a great Indy driver. Unfortunately, that didn't translate well to NASCAR and didn't really translate really well to fantasy NASCAR for us at all. But if we're being honest, Danica has done more to increase this sport's popularity and fandom than any driver outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And losing both of them at the same time is going to be a major blow to NASCAR and to the sponsors. And I really hope the sport can make it through this. And I know a lot of us bag on Danica for not being the quality driver that she should be, but man, she has done a ton to grow the sport, and she will be missed. Liehr, your thoughts on Danica?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to miss seeing her on the track, man. It's definitely one of those things where it's hard to transition from one type of racing to another type of racing, and completely different from driving an Indy car to driving a Cup car. And, you know, she did the best that she could. Obviously was on one of the top teams. She got her start with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well, with his team. So, you know, I think she definitely had the opportunities afforded to her. Unfortunately, you know, like you stated, it just didn't translate into actual good results. But, I mean, you know, for somebody that has a win in IndyCar, and she actually did, you know, sit on the pole at Daytona, you know, she did a lot of things for the sport. You know, as far as from a marketing perspective, she's definitely one of the most successful women in NASCAR. And she will definitely go down in history as, you know, somebody that probably will open up the door for another female driver way down the line to come back into the sport. And, you know, I think with Bubba Wallace coming in and kind of, you know, with the retrospect of being diverse and within the sport, he's going to bring some of that to the track next season. She did so much for the sport, and I wish her nothing but the best. And I know that she's going to be driving in the Daytona 500 and the Indianapolis 500 next year. So interesting for that is she has to obviously go with a team that doesn't squad next season for the Daytona 500. So it'll be interesting to see who she lands with. But early favorites are Chip Ganassi Racing for that, because obviously he has cars in both of the IndyCar and in the Cup Series. So I wish her nothing but the best. And, you know, she's starting her own brand out there with her clothing line and everything else. So she's got a lot going for her, a lot to keep her busy. But I'm sure a lot of you caught her today in her announcement. And, you know, it's kind of crazy that we didn't get much of an opportunity or a chance to celebrate her within the sport, with it just being coming down today that she was going to retire. Wish her nothing but the best. And, you know, I still love watching her on Instagram.
The real problem is like, we've been calling this all year, but there are hundreds of thousands of little girls who became fans of NASCAR that now don't have a driver to root for. And for a sport that is all about marketing, this is another failure that I cannot understand, how through their development programs, we do not have another female driver ready to take a car on the main circuit. And this is one of the failing points of NASCAR, and they're going to lose a huge chunk of their fan base next year. And to be honest, I'm really worried about that for the advertising hits. But somebody else that's a little bit of a fan favorite and a former champion is Kenseth, and it's only fair that we give this guy a shout out too. This guy has literally cost me tens of thousands of dollars in fantasy NASCAR over the past few years. But he's a great driver, and he will be missed, especially to the people that won those thousands of dollars instead of me. But one of the reasons why I still like Kenseth, even though he's done that to me, is this guy's going out with maybe the best approach ever, and he goes away with the best comment ever to an owner. Last weekend, in case you missed it, in the post-victory celebrations, he was just dousing everyone with champagne. Well, he gets to Joe Gibbs, and Joe Gibbs is like, "No, don't spray me," and he just unleashes the bottle all over Joe Gibbs and is like, "What are you going to do, fire me?" Greatest line ever for a driver. Kenseth is a great driver, underperformed quite a bit, in my opinion, but he's going to be missed. And it's going to be interesting seeing races without a former champion that is consistently up there on the track again.
Yeah, man. Great career for Matt Kenseth. A champion in the sport. And, he's came in and leaving the same time as the sport icon of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And hopefully his legacy won't get lost in that translation because he has done a lot in the sport. His son is coming up through the ranks as well. So you know that he's going to be just kind of like Chase Elliott and Bill Elliott. For him to actually come out and win last week, I know it was probably disappointing to a lot of fans that wanted to see Chase Elliott win and actually make it to the playoff run for this coming Sunday to get in the Final Four. But awesome to see at least one of the older guys, the guys that he's quote-unquote basically going out on top. And that's just awesome. And I wish I would have had exposure on him last week, which I didn't. So he's done a lot for the sport. He's been a great ambassador to the sport. And one of those guys that's, I don't know if you caught a lot of his interviews, but he's definitely a smart ass and a different kind of personality within the sports. So I know a lot of the other drivers said he's going to be missed. And, I think he's definitely been a huge success story within NASCAR. And it's good to see that he's going to go out on top. A little disappointing, though. I don't know if he's going out on his own merit. I think he may have still wanted to continue to drive, but he's not going to drive unless it's for a potential winner and one of the bigger teams, and just didn't have that opportunity because the sport is transitioning so much to the younger drivers. So, but we've lost so many drivers within the last handful of years between Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, and now we're losing, Dale and Kenseth and Danica, and the sport's definitely going through a transition phase right now.
Yeah, it's weird, and to be honest, I hope NASCAR can make it through this transition. You're losing a lot of personalities, and even the personalities of the value drivers or the cars that aren't quite the top-notch cars. Like, we're losing McDowell right now. We still don't know that he has a ride for next year. We're losing Castle. We don't know that he has a ride for next year. The rumor is that he might be retiring. I mean, these are a lot of the popular drivers that are driving NASCAR's popularity and fandom, and without them, I'm really worried. And the number one person that is going to impact that fandom and that has to be scaring advertisers across the board is Junior. And I will not be replacing this hat the entire show. Liehr switches to the Nationwide hat. I'm wearing the 88 in honor of Dale the entire show this week. Look, I will miss Junebug most of all, watching him grow up on the track from being a little kid while his dad was there. And even in Victory Lane celebrations with his dad, I remember those moments, and it was awesome watching him grow up because we're close to the same age, right? And being able to watch somebody grow up in a sport as you grew up and compete in a sport at the top levels. And, some will say that he's had a little bit of disappointing career at the end, like he never got a championship and didn't really maximize his potential, but man, there is not a better ambassador for the sport, and I don't know that there could be. What this guy has done for NASCAR and what he will continue to do broadcasting for NBC Sports, I think that's awesome. It will only help NBC Sports get serious about NASCAR broadcasting, and I hope he does as good a job as Jeff Gordon has done for Fox. I'm glad we're still going to get to see Junior. I'm just going to miss Junior being on the racetrack, and I'm really going to miss the Batman ride that he always drove, and I'm going to miss his Mountain Dew rides. It's not going to be the same when Chase Elliott drives. It just hasn't been when Chase Elliott drives that Mountain Dew car. Anyways, Liehr, your thoughts on Junebug?
I'm definitely going to miss seeing Dale on the track. It's watching an icon. It kind of takes me back to the movie Field of Dreams, where you kind of see the baseball players walking to kind of just walk off into the sun. And that's what we're going to be seeing this weekend. And it's going to be an emotional race, and especially for him. And he's done so many great things for the sport, and he's going to continue to do those while he's not sitting behind a driver's seat. But he's still obviously going to be a car owner in the Xfinity Series and participating from the broadcast booth. But it's an end of an era, and it's always sad to see somebody that you've grown up watching, within the sport that you love, and seeing them, having to transition and move on. But at some point, as in all athletes and all sports, your time comes. And unfortunately, it is his time after, so many wrecks and so many concussions and missing a large portion of last season due to those concussions. Going from a guy that was in great health to now you see him wearing glasses all the time because of his blurred vision and everything else. So I'm just happy that he can still, we've got one race left, but, as far as safety, it's come so far within NASCAR, but, it's awesome to see that he's going to be able to walk away pretty much unscathed and, hopefully be able to enjoy the rest of his life and look back on everything that he's done for not only his career, but everybody else within the NASCAR community. That includes fans and other drivers. But also, this guy has been such a great ambassador for the sponsors that he's had as well. I mean, and for Nationwide and the children's nationwide children's hospitals and what he does off the track for all those kids. And fulfilling dreams. And the crazy part is a lot of athletes don't take the time to do that and kind of know their role and what kind of impact they have. And he definitely is aware and knows that. So, but I wish you nothing but the best, Dale. And thank you for everything that you've done and that you will do in the future. And I wish you nothing but the best. And, you're definitely going to have to at least play one Dale Earnhardt Jr. this weekend, right? For good old time's sake.
Well, dude, you couldn't transition us better. I was just getting ready to ask you. Now that we're done fanboying out on all these drivers that are leaving, what is your exposure going to be to Junior this weekend, especially with where he's starting and how good that car looked before they had to replace the engine on it, which has him now starting from the back of the field, even though he'll only be scored starting 24th. Your thoughts, man?
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be different if he was starting, a lot higher than that. But, I mean, you can basically equate that to, starting 40th and starting 24th. With 267 laps, I mean, he's going to pass those bottom tier guys pretty darn quick. For me, it's kind of a no big deal. But I'll be happy to see that number 88 red throwback Budweiser paint scheme, this weekend. And I definitely think he's going to be a good place differential play. I'm pretty sure, though, based on everything this weekend, that he's going to have a pretty large ownership percentage just because of where he's starting at 24th. But also, he's only $7,800, so he's under that Mendoza line of $8,000. So I think that a lot of people will have exposure on him, and I think he could be a good place differential guy for you this weekend.
My worry is that I want to play him. I want to play him for nostalgia, but my concern is everybody and their brother is going to be doing the same thing. And that's going to drive up his ownership percentage way higher than what it should be. But you know what? Part of me says I don't care, and that I'm going to light one lineup on fire just out of tribute anyway. And so I'll probably end up leaning that direction and do one of my lineups at least. Starting 24th for as good as he is here is just too ridiculously low. To be honest, that whole Hendrick team is starting too low across the board, and
it's nuts. I mean, you got Elliott starting 18th, Jimmy Johnson starting 22nd, Earnhardt starting 24th, and Casey Kane with his last ride as well in the number 5 for Hendrick starting 27th. So
I'm still mad at him for stealing Michael McDowell's ride. So, like,
holding that resentment towards him.
Oh, dude, animosity, just like straight animosity.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Well, the stages, even though there's no real function for the stages other than to allow everyone to pit this week, are going to be at lap 80, lap 160, and then we will go all the way to lap 267 and the finish where we'll crown a champion. Weather should be sunny and in the mid-80s when we go racing Sunday, November 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC. We also get this week a bonus channel of coverage. NBC Sports Network will have a Championship 4 special broadcast along with special junior broadcasting. So you can always look at both NBC Network and NBC Sports Network this weekend. That's really cool in my opinion. I kind of wish they did more along these lines for NASCAR.
Yeah, on a full-time basis.
Yeah, do you have a fun fact you want to throw in here, Liehr, since we kind of did this out of order with everybody retiring this week, apparently?
Yeah, man. I mean, finale, you can't do it, how we normally do it. So, but interesting fact is that Ford and obviously Toyota are the two manufacturers in the Final Four this weekend, with Chevy obviously not being in it. But Ford has not won a NASCAR championship since 2002, with Chevy winning every single one of those except for the 2012 season where Keselowski won with Dodge, which is obviously no longer in NASCAR. So kind of crazy fact there with that.
All right, Liehr, last race of the season. Everybody's going to get a 3-month break from here on out. Now, I know you're in a hotel room in St. Louis. Like, guys, Liehr got deployed to St. Louis for hail damage. So I know it's late in the morning. Are you willing to risk it to give everybody a final goodbye burning rubber? Now, guys, if he does it too loud, we might get a phone call from the front desk. But I'm going to leave that in because I think it's awesome if it happens. So, Liehr, you going to do it for us?
Burning Rubber Championship Miami 2017 style, baby!
Your neighbors hate your guts, dude. They're like, what the hell was that? But my favorite burning rubber of the season by far. All right, man. Who do you have to burn some rubber for us this week, buddy?
Well, I'm going to take off my Dale tribute hat there.
Oh, see, I think that's blasphemy this week, but I understand why.
Yeah. But here we are, as obviously in the final show of the season, championship on the line on Sunday. And obviously you guys know who I'm going to be rolling with. Obviously I'm going to be taking MTJ and the number 78 team, not only as a dominating burning rubber fantasy pick, but they're going to be my choice as far as taking the trophy for the Miami race. Also, they're going to win the championship this season. And I'm just going to be honest, because I'm always honest on the show, but this team has been the best car all year. And, this race is a little bit of a different beast. It's one race between 4 drivers for a championship. Truex, honestly, though, does not have the best of stats here at Miami Homestead. He's raced here 12 times. He's only got 3 top 5s and 7 top 10s. Last year in the championship run, he started 6th and finished 36th via a crash that he had. But his cost this week is $11,100, which is obviously number 1 on the board, and a crazy $600 more than Rowdy Busch. So he starts 2nd behind Denny Hamlin on Sunday. But there's just something different about this team in 2017. No matter what the circumstance, no matter what type of racetrack that we were at, and obviously this being a 1.5-mile track, this has been his most dominant track this season. He's got 6 wins, which is obviously the most out of any driver this season. He's led the most laps out of any other driver this season on these types of tracks. Even though Homestead, like we talked about, is a little bit of a different beast, and all the speed is, up close to the wall, that's not one of the 78's strengths. That's not one of MTJ's strength is to race up towards the wall like a Kyle Larson. But in my opinion, they're going to figure it out. Him and Cole Pern are going to come up with a game plan. And I'm sure they've been planning for this moment for quite some time. They know they were going to be here. So that they've got a good game plan in place for Sunday's race. And, as far as MTJ, this is his best year of his career, and he's been doing this a long time. And, he still hasn't won a championship. And in my opinion, this is his time. This is his opportunity to take home his first championship. He's owed everything that he's got to the sport, and it's going to pay off because he's been working so much at getting to this point in his career through, going through Michael Waltrip Racing and all the other racing teams that he's had to race for. And this is his moment. And I think he's going to come to shine on Sunday. And I'm definitely going to be putting my stock into the 8 team, and I'll be celebrating Sunday night after work and finding out that he's won.
All right, bro. I get your fandom pick here. I really do. He's been amazing. He's been amazing at 1.5 mile tracks this year. But at this track, you said it. Like, you preached it. He's bad for his standard. And he doesn't have a win here, and he's went backwards each of his last 3 races here. The thing is I get why you want to play him. Apparently, they were one of the few teams that came out and tested at Miami earlier in the year. And since then, they feel really comfortable here. He was 2 miles an hour faster than the field in the final round of qualifying. That's fast. And if they keep that up through practice 1 and through practice 2 and happy hour, you're going to need all the Martin Truex you can gobble up. But if that car isn't as fast as it was in qualifying or doesn't look dialed in, it might be the time to get off of it with his track history here. Now, I understand that that's contrary to your fandom, Liehr, and that bothers you for me to say probably, but it's just the reality of how Truex races here. But maybe they did find something in all that practicing. 2 miles an hour faster than the field, dude. That's fast.
It's crazy because we've gone to so many. There are just so many different types of tracks on the Cup circuit, and it seemed like every race this year, no matter what type of track it was, they always came with a different game plan, and we're always very successful. Winning at Watkins Glen this year. I just think that team is primed and ready to do this.
All right. Now, I know Liehr stuck to his pick to win the championship throughout the season, and I gave you mine earlier in the year that it was going to be Rowdy Busch, and it still might be. But the guy I'm giving you to burn some rubber this week is Kevin Harvick. And normally I'd bust out his hat, but Junior. And so Kevin Harvick at 9,700. This is Harvick's track in 16 races at Homestead. He has 8 top 5s, including back-to-back top 5s in the last 2 races here. Harvick starts 9th, which gives this potential champion and dominator added place differential points. He and Kenseth are the 2 drivers with the most laps led at Miami, which means that these are the guys that understand how to run at this track. In the last 3 races here, Harvick has finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. My gut this week is that Harvick will be required to be on the winning lineup. Now, if that includes Truex blowing away the field, it might be with Harvick behind him, and they might try to make a different pit strategy to get a championship. I personally think Harvick will be one of the people that shares dominator points this week.
Yeah, to kind of put 2017 in a perspective, they started out and then they took kind of a nosedive and were kind of down there for quite a bit of the season. And, Kevin Harvick by no means has had a dominating performance all year long. The history here that Kevin Harvick has, especially too, like you talked about finishing 1, 2, 3 in the last 3 races here, but his laps led are crazy as well. He's led 6 and 79 laps within the last 3 races. Starting from the 9th, he's starting 9th, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't deny the fact that that car is a top 3 car without any doubt. They've been on a tear as of late too, going into this playoff run, and he's obviously fighting for that championship. And there's a lot of people out there within the NASCAR community that are calling for Harvick as the champion this year because of his history and his strong finishes at Miami Homestead, but also won a championship. He's got the experience under his belt, and that team really has gelled well together within these last handful of races and really come together well. So I won't be surprised either if he comes out and does have a dominating performance as well. And by that where maybe him and Truex are splitting laps as far as the leading laps and domination there. But with Kevin Harvick, you get the place differential with that too, which that makes him more of an enticing play from a fantasy perspective. So yeah, as far as fantasy, I'm definitely going to have exposure on Harvick. I definitely think he'll be a guy that's a must-own on your fantasy team.
Oh, I'm worried he's going to crush your soul, Liehr, and steal the championship from you. I've got this gut feeling it's going to be Harvick taking it down for Ford. Ugh, it feels
especially
dirty.
Especially since we rolled out that crazy 2002 fact for Ford.
Well, I'm pretty sure owners-wise, like Toyota's still going to get it this year, but it might, like the Ford championship. Ford might get the actual driver championship this year. All right, man. So it's early in the morning. We got to get you to sleep. So let's get this value plays out of the way, buddy.
Well, as far as value this week is Ty Dillon. This guy has quietly had a fantastic 2017 for Germain Racing, but he hasn't gotten quite all the accolades all his competitors of Suarez and Jones have gotten all season. He finished 11th after starting 29th. He's consistently started in the late 20s and early 30s. This season and has been a very nice value place differential guy all season long. And this weekend's definitely no different as he starts 32nd this weekend with kind of a poor qualifying run today. But DraftKings has definitely noticed this as well as far as his season. And his salary has definitely climbed higher and higher as the season has progressed. But his cost this week is $6,900. And to me, man, this is a no-brainer free square play in my book. He will probably be pretty highly owned, especially coming off that performance last week of 52 fantasy points. But it won't matter because, you got to get the points. And Ty Dillon is definitely one of those guys that I think can come out on Sunday and at least get a top 20 and give you more than, plus 10 place differential points plus the position. So you're not going to get much more than that from a guy any lesser. So I'm definitely going to have exposure on Ty Dillon this weekend, my man.
I can't say that I blame you. And somebody else that I'm going to roster a ton of this weekend is Michael McDowell, and it's going to be a little contrarian in my opinion. He's in that sweet Jolt eye drops cart. Now, for all of the people my age and Lear's age, Jolt has a different meaning than eye drops, as it was the soda that got you jacked. Remember? You would like try to get that random bottle as a kid and like drink it, and then you'd be wired all night. It was like the best soda ever for video game night with the friends. Anyways, he's starting 23rd, and he is good at Miami. And by good at Miami, I mean he's really good at Miami. Last year, he went 24th to 10th, and in practice 1 and in the first round of qualifying, he was showing top 10 speed. Now, do I think he'll get a top 10 this weekend? Probably not. But at $5,800, he's your best-looking value car on the track right now. Not to mention that he's statistically the best value driver. He's one of the best drivers that can get that place differential that you need. I'm going to go ahead and say it here in the last show. Levine Family Racing is going to be really upset next year with Casey Kane's results and wish they had Michael McDowell back behind the wheel of that car.
I love that little jab you threw in there at the end, my friend. But they definitely will look back and realize the mistake they made by letting McDowell go, especially on a one-team car like that. But I'm sorry, one-car team. Michael McDowell, the guy's had a fantastic 2017 season for that type of equipment. Just consistently been in the top 20 all season long. What's going to happen to him next year? We still don't know. I think he's still obviously going to be racing. I don't know if he'll actually get the opportunity to stay within the Monster Cup Series, if he'll have to go back down to Xfinity. I do hope that he obviously gets an opportunity in the within the Monster Cup Series, maybe taking Landon Castle's spot. I don't know, but we'll see. That has yet to be determined. But as far as his history here at Miami, you did say that he did have a great finish, which he definitely did last year, finishing 10th. But he does have a little bit of issues that were basically none of his out of his 7 starts, but 4 of his 7 he's had DNFs because of poor equipment. And only racing, like we talked about, is just a one-car team, so there's always an opportunity for them to have something fail. But as far as the driver perspective, he does have at least 2 races to where he's gotten more than 15 plus place differential positions at Miami Homestead. So definitely a guy that you want to consider for your teams. But starting 23rd, I don't know, man. It's a head scratcher.
Well, as Liehr has internet issues and is reflectant of dial-up's internet status, I think what he's trying to say is that his starting position is a little too high for him to feel comfortable starting at 24th. I understand that. I think that's going to drive down ownership percentage. I think that this is a top 15 car, which is getting you plus 10 place differential points at least. And at that point, as long as they practice like they did in practice one, which I think they look set up to do, I think at $5,800 it's the best value on the board. I could be wrong, but that's just me.
Even if he finishes right around where he starts at a $5,800 price point, he's still going to provide you that value.
All right, guys, that wraps up value for this week. It's time for Going to the Garage. Liehr, I'm going to let you take the honors of the Going to the Garage. Who are you sending to the garage this week, buddy?
Good old hotel Wi-Fi, my friend.
Oh, dude, it's great. And I'm guessing you paid extra to be able to do this. Like,
I did not. But as far as my Going to Garage pick for the finale of the 2017 season, I'm going to go 17 in 17. And I'll be going with, rolling with a popular driver here on the show and be sending Sticky Ricky in the 17 Fastenal car to the garage. Ricky went and got all inspired this afternoon by his girlfriend Danica announcing her retirement today and qualified 6th. Ain't So Sticky Ricky has raced here 5 times and has not finished any higher than 22nd and has actually finished 22nd 3 consecutive races in a row. And last season, he finished 30th due to a crash. His cost this week is $7,500, which, he's only going to go backwards this weekend in that field. There's too many other good cars starting behind him this weekend. And it's been a fantastic and great season for that 17 Roush Fenway team and Sticky Ricky, with him getting those 2 wins under his belt at the restrictor plate track. But this season has been amazing, and he's going to want to obviously have a good finish with him. Probably not the last time he's going to be racing with Danica, but last time as her as a full time Cup driver. He's just going to be like Tom Hanks going, Stanica,
Tom.
Don't go.
Nice, dude. I like the Wilson reference. I thought you were misappropriating it and trying to do a Stella from Streetcar Desire, right? Like, I didn't realize you were going Castaway. I was going more old school cinema there. I appreciate the Castaway reference, though. I really do. Dude, I completely agree with you on the Sticky Ricky. He's overqualified. Now, had it not been such an egregious overqualifying, I would say you're just sending him to the garage because you're upset his girlfriend is no longer on the circuit and that you won't get to crush after her for the rest of your existence. But guys, other than Sticky Ricky and possibly Kurt Busch, that you would also view as overqualified this week, who I want to send to garage, and I think this is important for us as a sport and as a fantasy community, is DraftKings. And I really hope someone from DraftKings is watching this video as to why we're sending them to the garage again. I love DraftKings. I love that they give us a NASCAR package. I think it's great that they're the leader in fantasy sports to do so. But what they've done with fantasy contests this year in NASCAR is egregious. They've made it to where you cannot enter and play seriously at NASCAR for serious money, right? I've had to resign as a player that used to spend hundreds of dollars, even thousands a week on NASCAR, to a casual player where I'm casually playing NASCAR. And I don't like that I have to do that, but I've had to do that because of the way DraftKings has structured their tournaments in NASCAR, and the payouts, everything to do with it is just nuts. There are a few things DraftKings could do to help the community. One of them is to actually respond to the DraftKings NASCAR community, right? We are filling contests that they're posting 5 and 6 hours ahead of lock. In some instances, 7 and 8 hours ahead of lock. There's just no reason for them not to expand contest sizes. If they don't want to expand the contest sizes, fair enough. Give us more tournaments at decent dollar amounts that are 3 entry max, 5 entry max, even a 10 entry max if that's what you want to do. But if your goal is to limit entries, do it that way and give us better tournaments. But right now, the system that they've created is you either have to be a single entry or casual player doing basically no more than 3 entries, or you have to forget about all the other tournaments and just spam enter the big boy, the beast. And a lot of people don't have the money to enter 150 lineups at $8 a pop. And I'm sorry, that's just, it's ridiculous. And I know we've had several people that play NASCAR communicate to both me and Liehr. That's why I have to send DraftKings to the garage. This is ridiculous. And we've called them out on it multiple times. They've literally been called out on Twitter multiple times, and they haven't done anything to change the package. Hopefully, in these 3 months before the next Daytona 500, we can get someone running DraftKings NASCAR that actually understands the group of us that are playing, understand the best offerings that they could give us as tournaments, and then we can continue to grow this fantasy NASCAR community. How it's growing continually with what DraftKings is doing is blowing my mind, but somehow we're still doing it, and that's a tribute to the greatness that is fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR to watch, right? But DraftKings, this is inexcusable, guys, and you've got to get it corrected. I can only support you with my dollar so much, and I've had to pull back significantly because it just doesn't make sense. Liehr, your thoughts? I know I went a little long-winded there.
No, man. Well said. And, you know, it's definitely, I mean, you remember the days where, was it the bump and run, the $27 bump and run, where first place was paying like $35,000, and that was just what, last year or the year before that?
Right, pretty much every weekend. And even when they contracted it, that $27 tournament, the top prize, was no less than $5,000 in the smallest week. And in the average week, it was between 10 to 25 grand.
Yeah.
And I remember all those different variations, and all of those are fine, right? You play those tournaments, you hit. If I'm going to play for a 32-week season, right, and the most I can win when I win a tournament is $1,000, right? And I'm still playing the same amount of people that I was playing when I was winning 25 grand and 15 grand. That's unsustainable, guys. That's not good for the fantasy community. And DraftKings has got to right that ship. And the only tournament that is paying out anything worth significance is that $8 lottery against 14,000 people, where most of the time the winner splits between 20 people, right? Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's because, you know, in this sport, you know, we're at a finite amount of, it's not like football, you know, we're at a finite amount of drivers to pick from. And with that many people in a pool, there's too much opportunity there, too much overlap of having the same lineup, thus splitting your prize money with somebody else. And so, you know, in essence, when you had that opportunity to win that $35,000, or, you know, that would set you up for the season, even if you had to split it up with somebody else, to now, I mean, it's definitely hard to make it sustainable. But even, you know, this year in 2017, to start off the season back in February at the Daytona 500, remember we had a tournament that paid 50 grand to first. And the only really way to get a similar prize like that within the NASCAR community this year was to play in the Fantasy NASCAR Championships and all the qualifiers. And, you know, most of the regular players obviously were, you know, maxing out on entries on that. But, you know, after a while, you know, you don't get much money if you don't win first place on a qualifier and make it into the tournament. So obviously you got to make your bread and butter at the tournaments and doing heads up. So it just makes it difficult to make it sustainable as far as a player within Fantasy NASCAR from a daily perspective.
For those of you out there that are wondering what exactly we're talking about, if you're not as a technical player as what Liehr and I are, some of the other guys, for example, they've been doing this 3-entry $20 tournament max, right? It's a $20 buy-in, 3-entry max, and it's what I've resided to since the rest of their tournaments have been garbage. I usually enter that, and I enter a couple extra tournaments with those same lineups. The last few weeks, they've swapped that. Okay, that tournament used to pay out $1,000 to first place, and it has for the past few weeks. They've swapped that out this week. You get to pay $7 more per entry, right? The field size is smaller, but top prize is only $400 this week. It's like, what are you guys doing? This doesn't make sense. And these tournaments literally fill every weekend. I just don't understand it. I would I would wager money that if they gave us a $27 tournament that actually paid 15, 20 grand up top, it would fill instantly. And if they're worried about the people spamming it, put a 15 entry cap on it or 20, whatever. Like, let's make it fun. But these tournaments are getting, like, this structure is absolutely absurd. And like, the only thing that is keeping me playing is my love of fantasy NASCAR, and that's why I've had to move back to a casual play. And I don't like that, dude. I don't.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But guys, with that said, hopefully DraftKings rights the ship for all of us and we get a better product. Remember, guys, we all need to be tweeting at DraftKings to get this package changed and to get a better offering for us as fantasy NASCAR players. So hopefully we can. Liehr and I are going to try to do some of that on our own and lobby some of the other bigger players out there into trying to get DraftKings to change. Remember, also, we're trying to get together that season-long daily fantasy league for next year. Remember to comment and let us know if you're interested in that. The buy-in point that we're talking about is $100 for the season. We'll have weekly prizes as well as an end-of-the-year prize and end-of-the-year trophy. We're hopefully going to have at least a couple hundred people in that. That's our goal. So with that said, Liehr, I know this is one of our longer shows in a while. We had to say goodbye to a lot of great drivers that are saying goodbye to us. So say your goodbyes for the week, Liehr, and for the season, and get us out of here, buddy.
Man, it's hard to put into words the 2017 season in recollection. We participate in one of the longest sport that is out there. And I want to say thank you first and foremost to you, brother, for week in, week out doing this. Obviously it takes a lot of effort. Not only are you the main man on the show, but you do all the editing and, I appreciate everything that you do for the show. And I know all of our viewers do as well. And also want to, thank the viewers as well for your guys' interactions, for sticking it out with us all season long, for your interaction on the YouTube page. We're definitely going to come 2018 strong with some additional things. But yeah, definitely get in on we're going to have come out with another little show before the 2018 season starts to get the rumblings going for the league next year. Mm-hmm. But also too, I want to take this moment as well to thank Adrian for his time on the show. We haven't really gone into what happened there, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out for Adrian. None of our doing. We wanted him to do the show, but he decided that he had other things going on in his life that he wanted to do. So I want to, take this time to also thank him. Hopefully he watches the show this week and for all of his contributions over the last handful of years. But wow, 2017, coming to an end, and we got so many great drivers leaving the sport, and thank them for their contributions, and looking forward to having some time off, my friend. And we want to thank you guys for staying committed and watching the show, and appreciate all the love, and we'll see you in 2018, and happy holidays to you and your families.
Wow. Thanks, dude. That meant a lot to me, Liehr. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to take some time to thank you. It's easier for me as a single guy with not any commitments, right, that is chasing my dream of being a pro fantasy sports player. It's a lot easier for me to be able to record these every week. You have a family, you bought a brand new house, like sold a house this year, and yet you still stuck with it and tried and made it through every show. And like, dude, the amount of work that not just you put in, but the amount of tolerance that your wife has, your future wife has, and that your son has for giving up your time to let you be a part of this. Thank you so much, man. It means the world to me to have you riding shotgun with me, man. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. Like, it's just wonderful. And guys, thank you for watching, because without you guys, it would just be Liehr and I talking to ourselves every week about NASCAR, which, to be honest, we probably would.
Anyways, but
we probably would do, but it's a lot more fun having you guys be a part of it and be a part of the interaction. I know for me, and I'm sure for Liehr too, one of the favorite things about the show is being able to talk to you guys on YouTube about your picks and have you guys fire back when you agree or disagree with us on YouTube and on Facebook. That's awesome, and that's what we've wanted to do, is grow a fantasy NASCAR community. And hopefully we're doing that, and hopefully we're doing a good job for you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. Let's win some money this week. Let's send off 2017 the right way with all of us making some bank. And,
Yes.
and with that said, we will see each and every one of you hopefully in 2018. And hopefully we'll have a show sponsor. We're going to try to get that done too. Because after all, this is NASCAR and we need a sponsor.
Right.
But guys, we
can't be driving and me riding shotgun without sponsorship.
We really appreciate you guys always tuning in and watching and supporting us. Thanks again, guys. Let's have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
And bye, Junebug. We love you. We'll miss you.
Love you, brother. Best of luck on Sunday.